So what we want to do essentially is get the outline of the room down on pen and paper, or what I'm using here is virtual graph paper, which I'll just show you the link for that. All the measurements that you take down, make sure they are in millimeters. It's just the most accurate way, and it's the industry standard for all measurements that we'll refer to going forward as well. So, like I said, pen and paper is absolutely fine, but just to illustrate it, I'll use this particular free website. It's not as intimidating as it looks. On the left-hand side here, we're only going to be using a few different things, such as the line, the text, the arrow. So quite straightforward. There's a couple of different ways to do it. If you've got overall a rectangular room, you can just basically put in a rectangle. It doesn't need to be to scale. So if you're a bit further one way or the other, I wouldn't worry about it just yet. So that's one way to do it. We'll do more of a complicated room, but just to show you how to keep it as simple as possible. So where to start measuring your room? It is quite important when we're planning for the kitchen and where it's going to go that we measure from a decent start point to get as accurate a measurement as possible. As an example, let's say your current kitchen is just a straight run like that, but your new kitchen you want to design is going to be more of an L shape like that. In this instance, I would start measuring the room from this corner here, this wall, and then go left to right all the way across. That way we know that these two wall measurements and any windows and doors in between are going to be fairly accurate, as opposed to starting in this other corner where cabinets aren't going to be going on the wall. By the time we come around and connect the room together, it could be out by 10 or 20 millimeters. So we'll illustrate a slightly more complicated room than a rectangle, just so you've got an idea of the kind of things we want to look out for when we're measuring. So if we use the line tool, we measure across, let's say somewhere along there you've got a soil pipe or something that's popping out of the wall. We can just click around and put that in. And let's say there's a section here that goes under the stairs. We'll just continue around and we can then line that up to roughly where that one finishes, and we just keep it nice and square. So I wouldn't start being too accurate about if this wall is off. That's essentially what we're going to do. Keeping with the line tool, again, if I zoom in here, let's say we've got a window. All I'm doing is putting little lines in here to represent the window. And again, let's say we've got a door. Over on this side, we'll just put some lines in like this. And if you wanted to show which way the door's opening in, you can do something like that. So nice and straightforward. We've got the basic layout of the room and we can start putting measurements in. So using tape measure roughly the middle height of the wall. That means you're consistent all the way around as you go. We'll select the text tool. What I tend to do is change the stroke to red so it's a bit easier to see. And we'll probably change the width of it to 8. And we'll just click on roughly if we want that measurement there. So let's say we put that in and it's 500. That's nice and simple. When we come to a window, there's a few measurements that we need. We obviously need the width. So if we click on and put the width, let's say that's 1200, again, working in millimeters. What we then want to be as accurate as possible, which isn't too important, just if you're playing around with the online planner, is we want the height of the window. So if we put that in, and then I'll do another enter, and we want the height of the window off the floor. So if the worktop's in the way, you can just measure the height from the floor to the top of the worktop, and then from the worktop to the underside of the sill. So you can carry on going around, and when you get to places like this, you can just put roughly where the measurement is. And if you wanted to be a bit more accurate with it, then we can go across here, select the arrow tool, and then you can just put on for where that measurement is. Back to the text tool, that's what we're going to do all the way around. For each wall, we'll just put on the different measurements, and we can move those around if we want to afterwards just by using the select tool. We can click move on the right hand side and you can pop it to wherever you want to. So that's actually what you want to do with measuring the room. And obviously a final measurement, which I tend to put in the middle, is the ceiling height. Whether you type it as ceiling height, so you remember that's what it is. And then you will be left with all the measurements that you next need to start using the online planner. So hopefully that's helped you in noting down the basic measurements that you need in order to use the online planner. That's pretty much all you need for now. We don't need to overcomplicate it if you've got sloped ceilings or steels that are boxed in. What you want to do is just get a basic room size onto the planner so you can start dragging and dropping all the different things in to design your kitchen. We have got another video on how to use the kitchen planner as well. We'd really recommend watching it just to get the most out of it. And then we can start putting some designs and quotes together for you.